everybody, John here, and today onto the garage I'm catching you up on what's going on, and we're going to do a little bit of work with the Land Rover, but all sorts of things very quickly. Firstly is it's no longer December. Where have I been? What have I been up to? Because as I'm filming this, I think it's the 18th or 19th of December. Not been very well. Excuse me, not even a fake. I've had what I can only describe as flu. I know people joke about man flu, but I thought I'd been beaten up. Not really had head cold or anything, but all the aches and pains I really struggled with. So that's disabled me for quite some time. I'm only just feeling good enough to get out and about a little bit. So it's the first chance I've had to come and swap my calendar. So we're going to say bye-bye to Oot McKittrick, the overall winner of our 22 photo competition, and therefore not only December's pin-up car and photo, but our cover car on the 2023 calendar. So that's going to go into my office now and go on the shelf. And instead, I brought out my 2024 X100 calendar. And if we open this beauty up, look at that picture. But let's just open that up, pop her on the wall. And how does that brighten your January? So that's Darryl Franklin's 1997 XK8 called My Lady, looking out to the Great Barrier Reef, Palm Cove, Queensland, Australia. Darryl, today I'm pretty jealous. Carnival red, early XK8, and not the weather that I've got outside. I don't know if it looks like that round by you at the moment, but I bet it doesn't look like it looks round here. Beautiful photo, well done, sir. And as always, our calendar has little thumbnails at the bottom. I'm not sure how you're going to pick these up, but all the entrants into the competition have ended up somewhere in the calendar. And now for a quick update, very, very quick, on what's going on with the XK8. There's a little bit of a problem, but a lot of you can look at it and say, oh, that's a complete disaster, and there'll be plenty of, I told you so, and I really don't mind, and I really don't care, and it's not a disaster in any way. But full disclosure, you know me. So recently we did the suspension rebuild on the front end, the top wishbones, and included new shock mounts. And there's always plenty of discussion about the shock mounts that you can buy because they are not the same quality as the OE ones, and the OE ones are very hard to get hold of, plus ridiculously expensive. So one of the many things that people don't like about the aftermarket items is this effect. And that, let's get you straight above this. And that is that the damper has wandered from being perfectly central. Now, don't get me wrong, if this goes a long way and you end up with a nut bashing on the metalwork, then it becomes noisy, it starts to chew up the rubber, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, would be a real issue. This is a deflection, in my opinion. It's happened after about, I'm going to guess about 2,500 miles. It's not something that's desperately worrying me. And I think I know how to dial it out. And it's probably due to my lack of knowledge as well. So you can see I've got a little purple dot there. That is where the bolt is heading. And then I've put a black line there. That is where the tail of my coil spring is. And where the tail of the spring is, and it sits on the seat that the top mount seat, the spring is a little thicker. So what I'm looking at here, I think, is the position of that tail is here, and it is pushing harder. It's a little taller, if you like, in this spot, and is influencing the damper that way. You say, well, that might just be wishful thinking there, John. And yes, it might be. But if I pop around the other side, got the same convention going on. You can see that I think the bolt has drifted more back than anywhere. And here is where the tail of the spring is. Now, it's not exactly opposite, but I wouldn't expect it to be because of the shape of this. But it's certainly looking like there's an influence there. My theory is, if I take this tail to the bottom, if I take the tail to the bottom, it will force it up. If I take it to the top, it will force it down. I just need to work out which of those positions actually has the least effect, because this isn't flat. This is at an angle, and all of the permutations of seating the position of the spring, I think there's probably a sweet spot that produces a most central position. The deflection on my bolt heads is not going to cause any great difficulties. What you're looking at when you look down here is the top of essentially a big washer between two pieces of this foam rubber, but the washer is underneath this material, so it's not going to hit metal, and it is smaller than the pressing where it's inside. Here's an old OE one, and the load of the car, as in the weight of the car, is not on this bush at all. Remember, it's the damper which will resist fast movement, but actually is putting very little pressure on this. So yeah, it's definitely a softer rubber. It's more able to deflect. The damper can change angle in that plane. So there's a lot of things going on that mean that's less than desirable, but not the end of the world. The rubber cushion that the spring sits on, the quality of that, however, is far more important, because that affects your ride height. And it has the full load of the car on it. So what am I going to do? One of two things, possibly both. I'll either do some experiments with rotating the position of the tail of the spring and see where this repositions itself to, or I'm hoping that maybe one of you guys or girls, my subscribers, have some experience of clocking the position of the top tail or the bottom tail, doesn't really matter, of the spring, but it is the top that kind of introduces a little bit of deflection, so that it's correct. Or if you've got absolutely standard springs that have never been changed and your dampers are very central, could you have a feel around underneath your cars for me and just tell me where the spring tail sits relative to these three bolts? I suspect it's here, aiming towards the outside of the car, meaning that when you view it from a wheel arch and feel around, you'll feel the tail of the spring here. If I knew that, I'd just swap them. And on a secondary, but far more interesting point, I've been approached by one of our fabulous subscribers to maybe try out some of their self-built, upgraded top mounts. And I do know from discussions I've had with other people that some of the subscribership of my channel have used this particular person to manufacture some for them and have had very good results. So I'm going to get hold of a set of those and share exactly what I think, the good, the bad, and try them out on the car anyway. So some interesting stuff coming. That's not going to be immediate because Purdy's fine. And at the moment I've got some issues with my Land Rover. So I've got a Landrover Freelander 2. I say issues, it's warning lights. There's nothing wrong with the way that she's actually performing, but I've got lack of communication with the Haldex clutch, and that has triggered various things like gearbox fault indication on the dash, but no actual effect. A lack of ESP and various other traction moving around devices, traction control, etc. But at the end of the day, it's still actively a four-wheel drive vehicle. It's just not able to select the appropriate mode for the terrain. Could be something very involved. It could be something very simple. I'm hoping it's the very simple, and we'll have a look at it myself very shortly. I'm hoping it's literally a connection to the Haldex unit. Now, we had floods, as in proper wading floods around here recently, and although the lights coming on didn't line up precisely with that event, certainly a few weeks later, I'm hoping that it's just bad connections, flooded connections, something like that. Clean everything up, we get everything back to working. She also has some glow plugs that need changing, a bit sluggish on this cold start. But it was a relatively expensive buy. She is in fabulous nick and she is warranted. So I won't be going too far with that. I'll do some investigation. If it's something I can quickly fix with WD-40, then I'll be doing it. If it's anything more involved, then it'll be back to the garage and let them pay for it. So I'll take you on that journey as well quite soon. I told you it didn't look like Australia. I've got some beautiful skies there. Right, so my Freelander, not been started in 3 days, I think. So what I'm expecting is a really sluggish start. This is a press the brake pedal, press the start button, and it just gets on with it type car, in that if it doesn't start first go, it tries again all on its own. I've got another issue that is a tyre sensor saying the tyre's a bit low. Now, in fairness, it was about 4-5 psi lower than it should be. I have pumped it up and the code has not gone away. Typically you need to drive the vehicle in order to get the code to go away, so I'm going to try that out now, but might all be connected. So start. Okay, so as you could hear there, she was struggling to start. That is just a glow pluggy thing, because if the temperature's a little higher, she starts very sweetly and easily. The glow plugs have probably never been changed. It's now showing check all tyre pressures, so I certainly haven't got 4 punctures, so hopefully that's going to clear itself. Also says okay to clear, and that's gone away. Now, interestingly, show warnings. Is there any to scroll through? No. Okay, so this is interesting. This is the first time I started it up, and it's not put up a load of messages about the Haldex clutch. And if we come down here, you can see I've got a lit up little car symbol on the terrain control system. That has not been lighting up either. So that says it's got communication with the clever diff. Now all this just might be connected with the fact I've not moved yet, but previously the messages have been instantaneous. So anyway, I'm going to take it for a little spin and just see what happens. I'm not set up because dark, because cold to mount you anywhere, but I'll come back to you after on a couple of laps of the block. Well, I'm back. Really wasn't expecting this. So when we started the car, it said I needed to check all 4 tyres. As soon as I got going, that disappeared and went down to the one tyre, which is the same tyre I added a couple of pounds to 2 days ago. Now it is possible that has gone down a little, and therefore that's why I've got a tyre pressure indication. I don't think it's got a slope puncture, but I'll check that out in the morning. The other issues, the codes related to can't communicate with rear diff, various systems and functions unavailable, so snow traction control, blah blah blah, all gone, which again makes me think it's probably a flooded connection. So again, tomorrow what I might do is take the connectors off the diff and give them a good clean out, check over, reassemble. Doesn't seem to be any issues. So, you know, you've got the controls down here which weren't even lit up, and on the dashboard, when you go from standard mode, which is basically 4-wheel drive with a massively front wheel drive bias, I switch it into the first mode, which is snow and grass and ice. It all comes up properly on the dashboard, tells you that's okay. I've given it a little go, and by a little go, what that means is I've booted it and it dulls the throttle massively. It's got huge amounts of traction control applied, and at slow speeds, whoops, when you turn the wheel, it brings in graphics, whoops, indicating which way the wheels are pointing, so that in very slippy conditions it can be hard to know which way the wheels are pointing, so it tells you whether they're pointing straight ahead or not. So that's working perfectly. You put it into the next mode, mud and ruts, brings up some other features which display the settings on the hill descent system, how slow you'd like it to go down slopes, slippery slopes and ruts on its own. And you put it into sand, which is as close to locked in 4-wheel drive as you get in a vehicle that's not got true diff locks and low ratio boxes and all the rest of it. So this is just working normally. Let that go back to normal. So kind of pleased, but nothing to fix. Boo. So what I'll do now is leave this alone till morning, check out tyre pressures, see if I get 4 low pressure tyre sensors again, and then move it and it goes back to 1. Have I actually got one that's lower than the others? Could it just be that it is so sensitive to tyre pressure that 4 psi, which is all I put in it, is enough to change the radius enough for the car to think its wheel speed sensors were sending it rubbish info, because the diameter of the wheel was sufficiently different to affect travel distance compared to wheel revolutions. Interesting. So I'll pick this up again tomorrow. If you're enjoying our channel, then don't forget to subscribe and click the little bell icon so you get notifications of new videos. And please give us a thumbs up or thumbs down, and you can share the videos. And below the video is always the area where you can comment and get involved with the chat.